We have only just begun and already the Fed has expanded its program. This is complete insanity when at least a decade ago these operations initiated cause for concern. However, today it is brushed off. Nothing to see here, folks. Everything is just fine. But clearly there's a major issue when the financial system can't exist without massive intervention by the central bank. That's not a healthy sign, no matter how many investors desperately try to spin it. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Many people don't want to know what's happening behind the scenes unless it benefits them, unless it makes them feel good. But unfortunately for a lot of people, they are in for a rude awakening. You and I, though, we are desperately looking for the truth, whether it hurts or not. That's the whole point. We have to pay attention. We have to put the pieces together. And this right here is truly cause for concern. We're going to get into some information today talking about the Federal Reserve primarily. This is the most important factor today, not only for those in the United States, but this will impact the entire world. Let's begin. The Fed is sharply increasing the amount of help it is providing to the financial system. It's quite interesting, the word that they used, help. It is way beyond help. It has become the entire market, the entire system. In fact, look at Japan as the primary example, where all of the real investors have left and you only have a central bank and a government there to buy everything. That's not a good idea because it always ends in disaster. Take a look at the 2 points at the bottom here. The New York Fed announced it is increasing its temporary overnight repo operations to $120 billion a day from the current $75 billion. Now, there is some misinformation going around here. We must understand that they are doing multiple operations within a given month. Some of them are happening on a daily basis. All of the schedule, however, is already predetermined. That's why I show you all of the links, because then you can go and check it out for yourself if I don't verbally explain it. But I saw a few comments from individuals saying this is not per day, it's per month, when in fact that is incorrect, okay? So we have this increasing to $120 billion per day just in this overnight repo operations. At the bottom, in addition to the repo increase, term repo operations are rising to $45 billion from $35 billion. So this is also increasing. Between the two of these, we are seeing a flood, absolute flood of money that is needed in order to support this very weak, very fragile financial system. Understand that without the Federal Reserve there to do these activities, the market would cease. It would immediately freeze up. We have entered a point at which the markets are completely reliant on the Federal Reserve. There is no other way to put it. Even the other central banks around the world tried to caution the Fed when they started to increase interest rates. I don't know if you remember it, but they said, please don't do that because it is affecting us negatively. Can you believe it? Bringing interest rates up such a marginal amount had an impact not only in the United States, but all over the world. It's crazy to think about, but that's what's happening. Now I'm going to show you directly from the source what you need to know. Take a look at this. I showed this on my community or blog section of my channel today, and I wanted to bring it up in this video. Treasury securities operations, directly from the New York Fed's website. At the bottom, you'll see the important info. Take a look at this. Total accepted is $7.5 billion. That's the maximum. And then you look below that, the amount submitted, $44 billion. This is getting worse every single day. We've got big problems going on right now in the financial system, not just for one particular factor. This is many different layers, all of them convoluted, all of them very complicated. But what we need to know as average people, as regular people, something is broken and the Fed doesn't want to admit it. That's it. That's all we need to know. All the intricacies, all the little details, they're really not for us to understand. Things things change in an instant. There's so much information that is not transparent to the public. So all we need to understand here is that something is broken. Here's the chart that corresponds to that. Fed, not QE POMO. This is their QE4 operations, okay? I'm going to call it that. I really don't care what they say. Take a look at this chart. You can see the red line, which is the oversubscribed ratio. I showed you on yesterday's video where they had $100 billion worth in a given day. $100 billion. And now we're going to see that because they've allowed much more, that they're going to exceed this 100 billion and of course go way beyond that. I said in that video and so many of these other videos I've done on this subject that the Federal Reserve is going to have to expand this program. It's the way it always was. We see it time and time again. Take a look at this, however, the oversubscribed ratio almost at 6. The pink is the submitted, the green is the accepted, and you could basically see the trend line here that every day they need more and more and more. There's more demand, and yet these maximums that have been set are simply not enough. They're going to have to increase this at every other one of their operations because the markets require it. Like I said, I always give you the sources so that you can be empowered instead of just listening to me or believing me. You never have to do that here on the Money GPS. Never believe a word I say. Always take a look at the data sources in the description. You could see for yourself at least $120 billion. That's the aggregate operation limit. And it just shows you that this will go through all the way into November. Also, you will see the two lines right here, which shows us at least 45 billion. So we've gone past the 35 billion, now 45 billion. Okay, so these are just an expansion of what they were already doing. I just wanted to give you the sources. Let's move on. New York Fed overnight repo operations. You could see over basically the past month what has happened. I wanted to show you that here because a lot of people like the charts, they like the graphs. So I just wanted to give you an idea of what has happened. You can see consistent demand. You can see that the Federal Reserve has had to constantly and consistently intervene, and that doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. Here is the Fed's balance sheet, which hopefully will be updated as of tomorrow, and I will give you an update on that. This right here just shows you that they have expanded their balance sheet after it was declining over and over and over again, and then suddenly we see it expanding. There is this constant misinformation that I see that all of the operations that they are doing are temporary, but that is simply not the case, and of course it is depicted right here on their balance sheet directly from the Federal Reserve's own website. You can see that it is expanding. We know that. We don't have to guess. We don't have to pretend that we know something when it is right in front of our face. This is an article out of the Financial Times. It had something interesting to say. The flood of cash entering the repo market from the Federal Reserve has served to dampen concerns that a repeat of the bout of volatility could occur at the end of the year when banks typically retreat from the market and shrink their balance sheets for December 31st regulatory calculations. So this could be a problem going into the end of the year and actually get worse. We have seen JP Morgan talk about this among others, and I do think it's important to watch this all the way through and continuously see how the market behaves to what they are doing. Of course, the investors love any sort of intervention. However, this is a big issue because without this intervention, the market would fall drastically. The safety net is pretty big at this point. I think the Fed is going to put an ocean of funding into the market until there is no way for repo rates to rise. And of course, all of this ocean of funding that he's talking about, liquidity, comes at a price. And if only more people in the financial industry would understand that, I think we'd have much less problems. Northman Trader said this: "What is the Fed not telling us? I'm asking for a friend." And of course, he's joking around, showing you the assets, other repurchase agreements coming directly from the Fed website. You can see that. Ultimately, throughout the financial crisis, we had a serious problem. But after everything was supposedly all sorted out, we didn't need these repos. We didn't need an intervention because everything was working itself out. out. However, out of nowhere, this became a problem. And it wasn't just a couple days like they said. It wasn't just a month, 2 months, 3 months, and so on. Now there is multiple levels of intervention taking place. Clearly, there's something wrong. This is just a timeline of the Federal Reserve and their actions. If you're interested, you could check this out. I know a lot of people love the charts like this, so if you need to, you can pause the video. I'll move on. The Federal Reserve is not the only one who is intervening in their markets. China is doing so as well. China injects $35 billion into banking system amid tax payments. China's central bank added $35 billion into the banking system, the largest amount in a daily open market operation since May. The PBOC net injected the cash via 7-day reverse repurchase agreements. This is important to note because we can see on a global scale, they are increasing liquidity. They are expanding balance sheets. They are going into the next round of quantitative easing. Whatever the hell you want to call it, it's up to you, but they're all doing this. We can look forward to the ECB starting up again. China's been doing it consistently. We're looking at the Federal Reserve now. Australia's been cutting rates. We could see on a global level, they are pushing for the next round in order to try and prolong the longest bull market in history. They're making a big mistake. In the second paragraph, they're talking about China once again in this Bloomberg article. The central bank easing monetary policy by lowering corporate borrowing costs and cutting banks' reserve ratios this year. But apparently they have not, this is what they're saying, not me, they have not embarked on an aggressive stimulus program as some market watchers had hoped. Well, of course, all of these interventions that are taking place are part of an aggressive stimulus program, but I guess it's not enough. Here you can see that in chart form, PBOC repo net injection. Take a look at what they have done. Definitely pumping a lot of money into the system, keeping it liquid, keeping it flowing. Think about your plumbing in your house. It's clogged up and they got to get this going again. They pump that through, but of course it doesn't fix the root of the problem. Well, that's all for this video. If you found it informative, hit that thumbs up button. I do appreciate that very much. If you want to build a business and make money, if you want to learn about passive income, I have a free, 100% free e-course that teaches you step by step how to sell on Amazon. This is quickly becoming the biggest course related to Amazon on the internet, and you don't have to pay a dime. Check it out at theamazongps.com. If you went through your education and you didn't learn anything about money or finance, well, then you're not alone. That's the way it is designed intentionally to keep you from the information. But this right here will give you everything you need to know. In these 2 books, you will get the download, all of that into your mind. Check it out. Link in the description. If you want the audiobook, that's at themoneygps.com. Hey there, where are you going? Don't go anywhere. This video here is so important. It integrates with this one you just watched. If you haven't seen it, click on it and I will see you there.